It's Haley again. Welcome to Paleo with Haleo. It's me, a meatball. Who's gonna bail? Today we're doing a margarita pizza and a Pizookie. Kind of Italian slash, I don't feel like going to BJ's and having a Pizookie, so I'm gonna make one myself. So welcome and enjoy. Are we filming right now? Okay, you didn't do the 1, 2, 3 thing, okay. Alright, so we're gonna start with the pizza crust, obviously, because that's the first step in pizza. This pizza crust is not like your soft, fluffy, chewy, I think it's a Chicago style pizza that it's not like. It's a little bit thinner crust, it's more like a cracker. If you've ever been to Italy, which I have, and I am gonna be a pretentious asshole about it, their crusts are little cracker-like, so this is similar to that. We're gonna go ahead and throw it all together. Really simple, not a whole lot of ingredients, but it takes a little time. So the first thing I'm going to do is melt my coconut oil. That's a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. Obviously it's solid, but when it melts, it stays a 1/4 of a cup. It's like the magic of coconut oil. So I'm just going to stick it in the microwave for 30 seconds and let that go. I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients. Similar to baking, I like to mix dry ingredients first and then add my wet ingredients later. So 2 cups of almond flour into the bowl. This is a 1/2 cup of arrowroot powder. And this is not squeaky clean paleo, close enough. A little bit of salt. Got some baking powder, not to be confused with baking soda. And then our mixture of spices or herbs, oregano, marjoram, basil, garlic, onion, and pepper. So that all gets dumped in there. I'm going to stir it around with a whisk. That's good and mixed up. I'm going to go ahead and crack my eggs. Two eggs. And then my slightly cooled off coconut oil will go right on top of that. And I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. Just so that I don't end up with funky egg all over my crust. Right. It's okay to get a little messy. Stirring, and I'm just going to dump that in there. So this is going to turn into a dough ball. You have a couple of options. Again, I like to get my hands dirty, but if you don't want to, you don't want to take off your bling, you can mix this up with a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula just until it gets sticky enough, turns into a ball. It is easier with your hands, I will tell you that. I have to take my bling off because I hate using a spatula. Spatulas are for sissies. So get your hands dirty and get all of this delicious crust in between your fingers, mush it around. It's really going to help it come together a little bit easier. So I'm just kind of dragging and pushing it in and trying to pick up all the loose dry ingredients that are in there until I have a nice little dough ball formed. Ugh, it is sticky. Also, it smells delicious, if you could smell it, which you can't. I imagine they'll come up with a way to make that happen at some point. Okay, there's my little dough ball. I'm going to flip it onto my parchment paper to get the gunk off it. Here it is. Alright, we're going to roll it out as soon as I rinse my hands off. Important step number 1 is to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. And while that's preheating, we're going to make our pizza dough, which we already halfway made. Just turn it on whenever you remember. It's okay. Alright, so I have my pizza dough out on my parchment paper. I'm going to grab another little bit of that, throw it on top. This is super sticky dough. The parchment paper keeps it from sticking. I'm going to roll it out about 1/4 of an inch thick. I suck at rolling, but I'm going to try my best. And you have a couple options. You can do it in a circle. You can do it in a rectangle. Totally your call, whatever you are comfortable with. And you just roll until it turns into something you like, that you can work with. When you're putting your lump of dough onto your parchment paper, if you have it in more of a ball shape, it's a little bit easier to get into that round shape. But you don't have to make a round pizza. Feel free to make whatever size or kind or shape. You could go octagonal, if that's a word. You can make it that shape. There's the pizza crust. It's beautiful, even though it's raw. You can get fancy here if you want to curl up the edges and give it a real crust. It'll keep your toppings on a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and start that process. Really, really, really simple. Just kind of rolling the edges of the dough into itself. And then we'll clean it up in just a minute once it's done being rolled around. I'm just cleaning them up. You can see where it's unfinished, and I'm just going in and kind of finishing that up. It's a really pliable dough, so this doesn't have to be perfect. It just kind of gives it that pizza edge, if you will. So, super easy. Voila! Done. Little raw pizza dough. Okay, I'm going to move my raw pizza crust onto my baking sheet. I picked a rimless baking sheet just because I know it's going to fit. I tend to get a little large with my pizza crusts, and if I try to put it in a rimmed one, I'll lose some space. So that's it. My rimless cookie sheet. I'm going to throw it in the oven for 20-25 minutes until it turns into a crackery, delicious crust. Now we're going to make our pizza sauce. It is the simplest and most delicious pizza sauce ever. I love it. This is a 14-ounce can of diced fire-roasted tomatoes. It's going to go in my pot, along with 6 ounces of tomato paste. You definitely need a spoon to get out. So I'm just going to pop that in there, like so. And make sure it's mixed really well. Oops. I'm going to let this heat up. I'm going to simmer it for a few minutes before I start adding my other ingredients, just to let it warm up, get some flavors infused. So I'm getting my garlic. There's 2 cloves of garlic, only because they're so little. If you have one great big piece of garlic, that's fine too. So I'm just going to move that. Grab my garlic press, throw those bad boys in there, and squeeze, and then cut this chunk off. Yum! Alright, this recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of finely minced onion. I don't mince very well, so I'm going to grate it instead. This is a 1/4 of an onion and a cheese grater. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it gets the onion juices and everything all in there, and you get the same flavor without having to mince. Try not to shave your fingers off. I haven't done that yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. Probably looking at the camera, not at my fingers. Okay. I'm going to keep going. That's probably a tablespoon. I'm going to get a little bit more. My bad. Okay, I'm gonna grab the rest of my ingredients. They're going in my sauce and throw them in there with the tomatoes. Here's my onions and garlic. Turn that right in. This is oregano. Probably a teaspoon. More if you like more oregano, less if you hate oregano. Or you can use an Italian spice blend. That will work too. This is basil. Again, another teaspoon or 2. And then just some salt. And some pepper. And that's it. This sits and waits for the pizza to get done. Stir it up. Get it all mixed in there. It makes beautiful, juicy noises. Alright. So while the pizza crust is finished cooking, which has about 20 minutes left, this sauce is going to sit and fuse together to become delicious. Put a lid on it if you can find your lid to your pan. Which mine is over here. Bazinga! Done. You can stop. I gotta wash dishes now. Okay, this section is called A Thought on Paleo, and I have very little to say, except that there's a misconception with paleo that paleo is perfection and it's all this grass-fed blah blah and organic and this, and that's all great if you can afford to do that. It's awesome. I can't. I have a family of 4 who eat like fucking football players, so I buy what's on sale for the most part. If I can get clean ingredients, I definitely do. I go for grass-fed. If I can't, then it's whatever is there. So there's a way to make paleo work for you no matter what your time constraints are or your budget constraints are, and I think that's a huge misconception. I think that people avoid paleo because it's a very, I don't know, perfect community, you know. Paleo gods can smite me all day long. I don't give a shit because I'm going to eat what I want to eat and I'm going to feel good when I do it. So, fuckers. Yep. Ready? Okay. It's like a cheerleader. Awesome. So I made a pizza crust earlier to prepare for your all viewing pleasure. This one's been cooked for 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and start topping it while my other pizza crust is in the oven. This makes a lot of sauce. I'm not going to use it all. The more sauce that you use on this pizza, the softer it's going to be. But there is a point where it's too much, and then it becomes completely unpickupable. You have to eat it with a knife and fork, which is fine. It all goes in the same place. So do whatever works for you. But I'm going to go ahead and start by putting a spoonful or so on there and just kind of spreading it out. And I'll add more to kind of fill in the gaps. And then whatever's left over I will use on my next pizza, or I'll freeze and use for something else. This is a pretty versatile sauce. You could actually throw a pound of ground beef or pork or turkey or lamb if you want to get real crazy and turn it into spaghetti sauce, which you could serve over zucchini noodles or spaghetti squash noodles. I feel like I already said spaghetti squash, but anyway, that's kind of it. I might want to spread it out a little bit more just to get it a little more even. Voila, I'm not Martha Stewart, but that's pretty. Then I'm going to top it with some mozzarella cheese. I couldn't find the soft mozzarella cheese, so I got the harder one, and I sliced it with my cheese slicer. If you want to grate it, like a normal cheese pizza, then by all means grate it. I'm just going to place these on here sporadically. I don't remember if I told you all, this is pizza margherita, so it's a tomato basil mozzarella pizza. Very, very fancy. You can impress all of your friends with this pizza. It is delicious. Has fresh basil on it, this mozzarella, some tomatoes. So, I don't know, I'm just flinging it on, Pretty thinly sliced. If you're going to slice it, get it pretty thin. Otherwise, it's not going to melt right. Alright, tomatoes. This is Aroma tomato. It is kind of a sad looking tomato. It's the best that they had at the grocery store today. So I sliced it up with my mandolin slicer. Use a knife, whatever works. These are paper thin. That's how I like them. If you want them thicker, then cut them thicker. It's your own pizza. You can do whatever you want. So I'm just going to throw those on. Probably won't use all of them. If you grated your cheese at this point, I'd say go ahead and throw a little bit more on top, just to keep the tomatoes kind of in place. But I think that looks good. I'm going to add one more layer. Okay. I want to talk about basil for a second. And using fresh herbs, because this shit can get expensive. And you don't get very much. This was $5. I found it at Winco. If you can handle growing your own indoor herb garden, which I would love to do, except I don't have a green thumb. If you look at my bamboo plant, I legit touched that one time, and now it's dead. So I buy fresh herbs because I can't grow them because I'm special needs in that way. So if you have tips on how to grow your own herb garden without killing it, that'd be great. I'm just going to take some whole leaves off of this basil plant here, and I used my fingernails to clip that off. Just tear it off. Basil is delicious. It smells great. Doesn't it smell good? It does smell good. That's too big. I don't want that piece. And just throw it on there, wherever you see fit. Happy little basil plant, like Bob Ross would say. We all love Bob Ross. Rest in peace. I'm taking my pizza crust out of the oven. It baked for 20 or 25 minutes. just until it gets that nice like crusty. It's cracking a little bit. It's pretty. Set it down. And that's it. That's your halfway done pizza crust. So once you top it, which we already did with this guy, you're going to throw it back in the oven for another 20 minutes. And that's to melt the cheese. So it's 20 minutes at 325, and then the last 5 minutes I'm going to bump it up to 400, and it's going to brown it. So throw this in. And let it do its work. Beautiful. One thing I just want to show, that's my sauce. It's done. So if I were topping this one right now, I'd go ahead and scoop that on just like I showed you in the last little bit over there. So anyway, I'm going to jar this and I'm going to save it for later to make spaghetti sauce or more pizza. Alright, so we're going to start making our Pizookie while we're waiting for our pizza to finish up. Starting with a half a cup of butter, and I'm going to gently melt it with a quote-unquote double boiler, which I don't own, but I have a glass bowl and a little pan that I put about 1 inch of water in. I'm just going to throw the bowl on top of the pan over the hot water, and then I'm going to unwrap my stick of butter and toss it in the bowl. So as that water heats up and creates steam underneath the bowl, it's going to melt my butter. I don't want my butter to be too hot for this recipe, and I will explain why when we get to the dry ingredients. So super simple way to have a double boiler without actually going and buying a double boiler. Don't ever do that. If you do that, you're an idiot and we're not friends anymore. That's all. That's all I got on the butter. So I'm ready. Are you ready? Okay, so while my butter is melting, I'm going to go ahead and throw my dry ingredients together. It's 2 cups of almond flour. We're using a lot of almond flour today, but that's okay. This is for our Pizookie. There's almond flour, salt, baking soda, not to be confused with baking powder, and gelatin. You'll notice that this is an egg-free recipe, and the gelatin is why. You can find gelatin in the baking aisle of any grocery store. You can order it online. There's a Great Lakes brand. That's not what this is, because that shit is expensive as hell. It's like $20 for not very much. So this might not have all the nutrient benefits that you're going to find in the Great Lakes brand, but it will work the same way. So on a budget, there's my tablespoon of gelatin, and I'm just going to mix that up and wait for my butter to finish melting, and then I'll throw everything all in together. So my butter is melted. It's a little hot right now. I am going to let it cool off, but before it does cool off, I'm going to add my syrup, which is 1/3 of a cup of syrup. It's grade B maple syrup, but you could use any grade that you feel like, as long as it's real syrup. We don't want that Aunt Jemima, I don't know, it's corn syrup. You don't want that. That shit is bad for you. And this is a teaspoon of vanilla, classily placed into a shot glass, since I ran out of tiny bowls, but that will go in there too. And then I'm just going to stir it and get it mixed up. And I'm going to let it sit for probably 3 or 4 minutes just to take some of the heat off. If I pour it in there now, it's going to melt my chocolate chips. And I don't want to do that. So let it cool off. I swear I could drink just the butter and the vanilla and the maple syrup. It looks amazing. This is 28 ounces of coconut oil for $8, or maybe $9. I found it at Winco on a whim. Haha. So that's pretty cheap. Anyway, I've never actually made a Pizookie before, so we're all learning together, which I think is great. I have an 8-inch cast iron pan. If you don't have one, you might be able to find them at the thrift store, which is what I would recommend doing, because this is expensive as well, this tool, but it's a good tool to have. Anyway, I've never made a Pizookie. I feel like I might need to grease this pan before we throw our ingredients into it. So I'm just going to warm it up on the stovetop. It's on low, or I guess medium low. And I'm just going to put maybe, I don't know, half a tablespoon. Just enough to kind of coat it. Coconut oil is really sensitive, so it melts right away. But I just want to make sure my Pizookie doesn't stick too badly. So, yeah, there we go. Done and done. Oh, and our pizza's done too. Yay! Shut that. Hi. This is cooled off a little bit. It's still a little bit warm, but that's okay. I'm gonna throw it into my dry ingredients. This is the butter and vanilla and maple syrup. And I'm just gonna stir it up like a Bob Marley song. Which if I knew the words I'd sing for you all, but I don't know the words, so I won't. I'll spare you. So that is the cookie dough. Now I'm gonna fold my chips in, my chocolate chips with a spatula, because that shit's too hot to put my hands on. These are Enjoy Life mini chips. They are dairy, nut, and soy free. They're pretty paleo friendly. They do have sugar in them, but this is one of the splurges I'll make. If I can afford it, I'll go ahead and buy these because they're pretty clean. If you can't, then just use semi-sweet chocolate chips. You could use dark chocolate chips. You could use whatever kind of chocolate chip that you want. If you wanted to throw pecans in here or walnuts, you could do that. If you didn't want any sweet, you could throw cocoa nibs in there. Those taste like coffee. That probably would be good, and a little bit of a different texture. So I'm just going to sprinkle this in here. The recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup. I feel like that's a little much. I know that it's really hard to have too much chocolate chips, but I kind of feel that way. So I put a little bit less than 1/3 of a cup, and I'm just going to kind of fold them in. Get them well distributed. Okay, so what will happen next is I'm going to put this into that 8-inch cast iron pan. We'll start our Pizookie. If you don't have the cast iron pan, feel free to make these into just your regular drop cookies. Tablespoon or so, throw them onto a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, cook them for, I don't know, 10-12 minutes, and you'll have some delicious paleo chocolate chip cookies. So, here we go, learning together. I'll go ahead and dump this pile into my pan that I greased with coconut oil. Holy moly, that looks delicious already. I feel like I say that a lot. I really enjoy food a lot, so everything is delicious. If it wasn't delicious, I wouldn't bother cooking or eating. Again, with the extreme close-up, thank you. Thank you for that. It's not uncomfortable at all. I'm gonna go ahead and be decorative, and I'm gonna sprinkle some chocolate chips on top of my Pizookie. Just because I feel like it. Because I feel like that'd be a nice little touch. Just sprinkle, just throw it on there. Beautiful. Okay, I'm just gonna wait for, the pizza's got 5 more minutes at 400. We're gonna brown and bubble the cheese, and then I'm gonna throw that in. Shut the timer off. Okay, there is our pizza. Ooh, the fire alarm's gonna go off again. You can tell by the smoke billowing out. But there it is, our margarita pizza. Really, really hot. I feel like maybe I should have put the basil on after. There it is. Hold on, let me get that. Beautiful, all right. My ears are ringing. I feel like I should have put the basil on after. Maybe not. No, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to do that. Basil's fine to cook with the pizza. I'm gonna let this rest for a few minutes. If I try to cut it now, it's gonna fall apart. But you see how the cheese bubbled up? The edges are a little bit more brown. That's why we turned it up to 400 for the last 5 minutes of cooking. So McKay and I are gonna enjoy this in just a minute. I'm gonna pop my Pizookie in the oven. That almost sounded dirty. That was fun. Pop the Pizookie in the oven, and then we'll get to eating. So, awesome. Done. Okay, Pizzookie's ready to go in. The oven is at 350. I don't know the cook time on this. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and when the top gets brown, that's when we're going to pull it out, top it with some vanilla bean ice cream, and go to town. So, here we go. Alright, awesome. Oh, great. Okay, so I'm just going to move this onto my cutting board, make it a little bit easier to cut. You'll notice I put this on my pizza pan, but you can put it on any kind of pan that you have, cookie sheet or whatever. We're going to slice it. Right. Cut right through the middle. And then we're going to go half again. And then half again. I'm cutting it how crispity and crumbly it is. Like I said, it's like a cracker. You could probably turn this into crackers, but anyway, there's our sliced pizza. I'm gonna throw some on a plate for McKay and also for myself. I probably next time would put more basil on it, just because there's not very much and it's kind of falling off. But don't feel like, sorry, I know you're trying to take a bite. Sorry. Don't feel like you have to make the margarita pizza. You can top this pizza with whatever you want. You could do ham and pineapple, which is my personal favorite. You could do pepperoni. You could do anything. I mean, it's a pizza. Top it with whatever you want. I like the margarita pizza. If you don't, then do it some other way. Anyway, okay, here we go. Pizza time. Are we ready? I'm gonna try this. It's falling apart a little bit. That's okay. That's good. I don't remember the last time I had pizza. It's good. It's hot, but it's delicious. Totally worth the time. Do it. Definitely make this. Delicious. Fucking good. Because I don't know how long this is gonna take to cook, I'm just checking to see if it's brown, and it's definitely not brown, so I'm gonna leave it in for a little while longer. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. It's brown enough. I'm gonna pull it out of the oven. A Pizookie. Look at that. All right. Traditionally, these come out hot. I don't have any plates in here. Use this plate. So I'm going to try and cut through it while it's hot, slice it up like I did with the pizza, and then I'm going to throw some vanilla bean ice cream on it. This is a pretty clean brand. I would have made some myself, but I was feeling lazy, so I didn't, so I bought some. It's clean, it's dairy, so it's not, again, strictly paleo, but it's an indulgement, so do it if it works for you. Here we go. Ooh, that's hot. That's hot. Don't touch the handle without a hot pad. Because it's really hot. Okay. So the inside is gooey. And I am just gonna, probably would have been better to spoon it into a bowl, but that's okay. That's alright. It doesn't have to look pretty, because it's gonna taste delicious. I'm gonna get a spoon and just scoop it out. Again, use fucking hot pad. This shit's hot. Okay. Normally you'd eat it right out of the pan, but we're gonna share. There's people here that are gonna want to eat it. Flip it. There we go. Okay. Ice cream. Janky scoop that I hate, but it will work. Just gonna get a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of dairy, so I'm just gonna do a little bit more than that because I do love ice cream. Great. And a spoon. And I'm gonna have the first bite because I worked really hard on this. That's the rule. If you work really hard on it, you get the first bite. So some ooey gooey delicious chocolate chip cookie with a bite of ice cream. It's gonna burn the shit out of my mouth, so I'm gonna blow on it. Okay, here we go. Yep, it's just like BJ's, except it's gluten-free. I think they actually have a gluten-free Pizookie. It's not as good as this one. This one's better. So I hope that you find time to make this and the pizza. Enjoy a little night in with your pint of ice cream and your Pizookie. Thank you for watching, and I think we'll see you next time. Hopefully, come back. Bye.